Mazda MPV. There is no question that Danny Ferry is the heart and soul of Duke University basketball, and this team in particular. But Dan Bonner, if Duke is to achieve its rather lofty goals of winning another ACC championship and making a run for a national title in the NCAA tournament, Danny Ferry has to get some help offensively and defensively, and from two people that you're going to talk about, Quinn Snyder and Robert Brickey.
Bob, there's really no question that a team can achieve the kind of success that Duke has achieved and would like to achieve again with a one-man show, and Duke certainly isn't, and there's no reason for the Blue Devils to panic. For heaven's sakes, they've only lost one game, but there's no question that for about the last month or so they haven't played very well. And when you look for the reasons why, one of the people who comes to mind is Quinn Snyder. Snyder, who had a great year last year, and even though he continues to have a good year this year running the club, his shooting percentage is way down, both from the floor and from the free throw line, as well as from three-point range. So I think something that would help Duke a great deal is to get Quinn Snyder more involved in the offense in terms of shooting. Quinn, who you get a look at there, along with Robert Brickey on the right-hand part of your screen. Quinn has done a good job all year getting the ball to other people. This is one of his 100 assists on the year. Just so happens it's to Robert Brickey. Brickey is a person with great athletic ability. No one has ever questioned that. On the defensive end of the court, you can see there he's got 17 blocked shots. He's also played well offensively in his last couple of ACC games with 17 and then 20 points. But I think one of the things that Mike Krzyzewski would really like to see Robert Brickey do is a better job defensively, channeling those skills that he has into some fundamentally sound defensive play to help Duke shut people down like they haven't been able to do this year, but which they've done consistently in prior years.
A lot expected of this Wake Forest team as well, after playing so well and losing at Duke and then beating Maryland. But the Deacs have lost 3 consecutive ACC games, and one of the reasons why, they've been struggling with their outside shooting. Cal Boyd and David Carlisle. Carlisle, for example, is 14 for 41 from the field in ACC play. But they have gotten solid play, Dan Bonner, from a freshman point guard by the name of Derek McQueen, and they're all everything inside Sam Ivey.
Wake Forest is definitely a team in transition, Bob. They continue to build a program, and they're using a lot of young people. Sometimes young people are inconsistent, which is all the more surprising about Derek McQueen on your left. McQueen has been solid for them all year. He's an excellent penetrator. You can see here he's able to score both inside and outside, although that isn't the strongest part of his game. One thing that he's been able to do, as well as his teammates, is get the ball to this guy right here, Sam Ivey. Ivey is the 9th leading scorer in the league. He leads Wake in scoring. He leads Wake in rebounding. He's very important to the Demon Deacons, and one of the reasons they have struggled is that Sam has really had some foul problems this year. In their last game against Duke, he played only 21 minutes. If the Deacs are going to be successful today, they're going to need to have Sam Ivey for as close to 40 minutes as he can go.
And speaking of David Carlisle, he will start today's game against Duke. That's the Mazda game plan, brought to you by Mazda Cars and Trucks. Duke, Wake Forest at the Greensboro Coliseum. Let's meet the lineups to PA announcer Quinn Taylor.
20 minutes. Late in the game. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Greensboro Coliseum for today's Atlantic Coast Conference basketball game between the Duke Blue Devils and our Wake Forest University Deacons. Here are the starting lineups for this afternoon's contest. First, for the Blue Devils of Duke University. Starting at forward, a 6'10" senior from Bowie, Maryland, number 35, Danny Ferry. And the other forward, a 6'5" junior from Fayetteville, North Carolina, number 21, Robert Brickey. At center, a 6'10" freshman from Angola, New York, number 32, Christian Lichtner. At guard, a 6'4" junior from University Park, Illinois, number 3, Phil Henderson. And the other guard, a 6'3" senior from Mercer Island, Washington, number 14, Quinn Snyder. Head coach of the Duke Blue Devils is Mike Krzyzewski. Now, the starting lineup for our Wake Forest University, David Deacons. Junior from St. Louis, Missouri, number 40, Sam Ivey.
Testing. Could you take
forward, a 6'8" freshman from Newton Grove, North Carolina, number 44, freshman from Greensboro, North Carolina, number 45, Phil Medlin. And guard, a 6'8" junior from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, number 25, David Carl. And the other guard, a 5'11" freshman from Darlington, South Carolina, number 4, Derek McQueen. And the head coach of the Deacons is Bob Stack.
And the officials assigned today by the ACC. On the left, David Dodge. In the middle, John Moreau. And on the right, Jim Wright. The Deeks and Duke here at the Greensboro Coliseum. And Dan Bonner, the Buick matchups. And Bob Stack making a change in his lineup. David Carlisle, who started through the December month, now back into that lineup today.
As you mentioned, that both David Carlisle, Bob, and Cal Boyd have had difficulty with their shooting, and sometimes a change like this can help. You put a guy back in a situation that he's familiar with. In Carlisle's case, that's starting, and bring Cal Boyd off the bench, then maybe that's the spark that you need. Ought to be a pretty good battle today inside with Robert Brickey and Sam Ivey.
Christian Leitner and Phil Medlin tip, and Barry wins it for Duke. The Blue Devils in the traveling blue, and Wake in the home white. Brickey, too long for Christian Leitner, and the initial turnover of the game gives the ball to Wake Forest.
Leitner was not really ready to catch the ball, Bob. Wake opened in a man-to-man defense. Duke, of course, is going to open the same way. Danny Ferry matched up against Sam Ivey.
This is Derek McQueen.
We'll have to keep an eye on Ferry to see how smoothly he's moving.
King inside, tipped away. Brickey. Nope, it was last touched by Ivey and out of bounds to Duke. Danny Ferry is wearing I guess the best way to describe it would be a corset of some sort, but it's not so much for position of the back, it's to keep the back muscles warm, we're told. He wore it in the Carolina game on Wednesday. This is Ferry operating. Inside, Leitner, nice catch, and he put it in.
Really was a good catch, Bob. Good cut.
Ivey. And taken away by Chris King. Neither Snyder nor Leitner could grab it. And the Deeks looking for their first points. Slow starts have hurt Wake Forest in the last couple of games. They were 16 down at the half Wednesday at NC State, 15 down at the half here last Saturday against the Clemson Tigers.
So hard to come back from that far down against anybody, particularly quality opposition.
Carlisle missing a three-pointer.
You talked about his shooting woes. It'd be really helpful for him and for his teammates if he could get a couple of those to go early in the ball game.
Ferry, the senior against the freshman Medlin. Tip to McQueen. McQueen penetrating. Sam Ivey ties it.
One of the things that McQueen does best. But Bob, I was watching Danny Ferry on that particular occasion. He is not running very smoothly up and down the court. He looks rather stiff. Maybe one of those things that he'll just have to play in spurts.
McQueen right there with it. Here's Ferry, and that's a travel.
That's real good defense by Phil Medlin. He cut off Ferry to the middle and then was able to move quickly to the baseline. See there how he forces Ferry to spin back, then he does not go for the fake. Ferry eventually walks. Good defense by the freshman.
A 2-2 game. 17:30 left in the first half. Carlisle gets a little closer and puts it in.
Carlisle has a reputation as a shooter. Henderson guarded the jump shot. Nice move by Carlisle to put it on the deck and go by.
Carlisle has had some great games against Duke in his career.
And that's exactly the kind of foul that has Sam Ivey in trouble all year. There's just no need to foul Christian Leitner out at the top of the key. Sam Ivey not doing a good job moving the streets. What? Leitner is not going to hurt you from out there. Sam basically goes out and gives him a bear hug. He's got to move his feet, cut him off. If Bob Stack had any hair, he'd probably be losing.
Wake is going to a zone, and inside Henderson scores. First bucket for the University Park, Illinois junior, and Duke has tied the game at 4.
I think Wake Forest would be very wise to see if they could put it in Ivy's hands inside against Danny Ferry.
There it is, and got it. Just what the doctor ordered. Ivy with 4.
Ferry's so valuable offensively, I think it really helps to attack him if you can do it with Ivy.
Great pass to Leitner.
Ferry sees the court so well. He sensed that double team by Ivy, that Leitner was open and got him the ball. Now see, Ivy's pushing against Ferry in there. He's got to be careful. He can't afford to get that second foul this early in the game.
Medlin. He lost the handle, and Brickey comes out of there with it. Tie game at 6. Too strong for Henderson. Brickey saves it, but into the hands of Medlin. McQueen ahead to Chris King. And open at the other end is Brickey. Boy, it's a wonder that Medlin didn't get called for an intentional foul there.
Mike Krzyzewski is saying that he thinks he pushed him.
First bucket for Brickey. 8-6 Duke.
One of the things with 3 referees in the ball game, you can talk to a bunch of different people as they run past.
Ivy just a little short. Ferry rebound, but lost it.
Ferry not able to find the handle for that one.
We've got a timeout on the floor.
Sam Ivy, that's the second time he shot the ball from that distance. Here's Ferry, not able to control the basketball. Sort of mistimed the jump there. The ball hit the rim and bounced a little funny. That can't be good for Danny's back.
8-6 Duke with 15:46 left. Now this from Budweiser.
Bob, early in the ball game here, we're seeing a pretty good battle shape up down inside between Sam Ivy and Danny Ferry. You see Ivy pushing off in there. He's got to be very careful. That's an officiating point of emphasis this year, and he's just got to be careful he doesn't pick up the foul.
Duke leading 8-6. And Danny Ferry getting it inside to Leitner, and Brickey wasn't expecting the pass. Duke is known for forcing turnovers, but today Mike Krzyzewski's team has turned it over 5 times in the first 4.5 minutes.
He said that Duke really has not been playing well of late. They start out this game, even though they're in the lead, they don't look particularly sharp.
David Carlisle inside to Chris King from Ivy, puts it in. Nice basket by Chris King, and a foul on Henderson.
Real nice job by Wake Forest to recognize a mismatch inside. See this ball movement, the passing triangle. Henderson trying to guard Chris King inside just is not big enough to do it, particularly when Sam Ivy is going to make an entry pass like that. That is just a real fine pass by Ivy.
Chris King, the freshman from Newton Grove, North Carolina, already twice this season ACC Rookie of the Week. And I've been amazed with his consistent play in the ACC. And he's done an outstanding job for the Deacons. At the other end, Henderson putting it in.
What a pass by Ferry.
10-9, Duke on top. 15:05 to play first half. Ralph Kidler in the ball game for the Deacons. This is McQueen. King, and Leitner got a piece of that, and Brickey pulls it out of the air.
I think King was a little surprised. He didn't expect Leitner, who had picked him up on a switch.
Inside, Leitner, Ivy there. King tips it over to Carlisle. The Deacons looking to take the lead. They've been up 4-2 and 6-4, but we've been on a seesaw here. Already 3 lead changes in the first 5.5 minutes. Shot clock at 20. Carlisle. McQueen. Inside Ivy. Had a pretty good pass, but just couldn't handle it.
Ball sort of came up almost on a short hop, Bob. You get a look at Bob's stack there. His team was right in the ball game at Durham. That's Crawford Palmer in the ball game for the Duke Blue Devils.
Interesting to see him in the game at this juncture. Has not received a whole lot of playing time this year. Driving Henderson and scores and gets a foul.
That's a real good play by Henderson. 6 points now for Phil. Mike Krzyzewski having a talk with Quinn Snyder. If you're playing man-to-man defense, one thing you don't want to do is let a guy go to the baseline. Robert Seiler in the ball game for Wake Forest simply did not cut him off. You got to go and you got to stick your foot on the baseline and force the guy either to charge or to go out of bounds. Seiler didn't either. Nice move to the basket by Henderson.
Phillies really picked up the scoring average, you see, from last year to this year, and bidding for his 7th point today.
And they're going to get a lane violation there. Ralph Kitley stepped in a little too early.
A reprieve for Phil Henderson at Duke.
Danny Ferry gave him the old fake down there. Ralph stepped into the lane.
Henderson missing on the 2nd attempt. Crawford Palmer got the rebound but traveled.
Boy, he really bulled his way past Sam Ivey to get the ball, then could not maintain his balance.
Crawford Palmer, physical player. Christian Laettner said in the preseason, when you've been fouled by Crawford Palmer, you know you've been fouled. 12-9, Duke leading. Carlisle. And Palmer there to get a hand on it. Carlisle, that one, let's see. Bricky got a piece of it. They're going to call an offensive foul on Carlisle.
That is a pretty good defensive series for Crawford Palmer to drop down in and help out against David Carlisle. Watch this now. Palmer comes over, gets the blocked shot right there. Now they're battling for the ball. He maintains his position. Carlisle goes up into him. That's a real good defensive job.
Off the hands of Henderson. Sam Ivey to Derek McQueen, and the Deeks bring it up trailing by 3. This is Robert Seiler. Right through the legs of Snyder on that pass. Kitley inside, and a foul. One of the more unique bounce passes you'll see from Robert Seiler that time. Talk about threading the needle.
This is a game that has started very slowly, Bob, but we have some action running up and down. Robert Seiler trips there, nearly walks, but didn't catch it. The ball goes right through the legs of Quinn Snyder. David Carlisle doing a nice job to catch it and go to the basket, and then Ralph Kitley, working hard as usual, gets the rebound.
Kitley did not play against NC State Wednesday night. First time he hasn't played in a Deacon game since his freshman year, but in there today.
Duke is big, and you need a body like Kitley's in the basketball game.
And Ralph misses both free throw attempts, and the rebound belongs to Wake Forest. Ferry touched it last.
Ralph came into the game only shooting 55% from the free throw line.
Duke leading by 3. 13:20 left here in the first half. Seiler doubles to McQueen.
Duke doing a nice job cutting off penetration. Good defense by the Blue Devils.
Carlisle ties it.
Broken play that Wake Forest took advantage of, Bob, but very nice exterior defense there.
Kitley coming across in front of Ferry, and a foul. And the Wake Forest bench erupts.
Ferry doing a nice job getting position in there. It's a tough call against Ralph Kitley. He's really hustling. Thought he was around in front of Danny Ferry.
Watching the game's 5th time. Snyder feeds Ferry at the high post. 12:40 left first half. Ferry, a runner, is good. His first basket of the game. Second leading scorer in the ACC, right behind State's Rodney Monroe.
Brian Davis in the ball game now for the Duke Blue Devils, Bob. Again, pretty early for him to be in the ball game, and maybe that's something that we're going to see. Mike Krzyzewski not satisfied with his team's play.
Gant followed by Ivey, no, but Kitley is there. A lot of banging inside. Kitley the basket. Oh, no! They take it off, and it's a charge on Ralph Kitley.
And Bob Stack and the Wake Forest bench are beside themselves. You can see the reaction of Ralph Kitley. Wake Forest really battling on the boards. Nobody blocks out Sam Ivey, but he's not able to get the dunk. Kitley now does a real nice job getting himself set. He walked. It wasn't called. As he bulls his way to the board, the charge is called. Ralph, you can see there, doesn't know yet that he's been called for the foul. That's 2 now against Ralph.
Snyder working up on McQueen inside to Ferry. No. Rebound. And it's Seiler claiming it. Now to McQueen. Robert Seiler moving in. Underneath King. Tied at 14. The 6th tie of the game. Berry. I think Kidley got away with a push there. At least maybe an acting job on Berry's part. Long bounce to Carlisle. Boy, this was really heating up, and a foul on Palmer.
Now the fans think that Palmer's been fouling a lot in there. That's the first time he's been caught. But Wake Forest doing an excellent job running the basketball court. Great pass by McQueen. That's really a good catch in traffic by Carlisle. Then he maintains his feet, has the strength to get it up on the board.
David Carlisle has scored 7. And now one of the league's outstanding foul shooters, bidding for his 8th point, trying to give the Deacs a 3-point lead. And he's got it. So a 3-point play for David Carlisle. Mike Krzyzewski and the Duke Blue Devils now trailing by 3. And we'll continue from the Greensboro Coliseum in just a moment. Back in a packed Greensboro Coliseum. Make sure you stay tuned for the Holly Farms Player of the Game Awards, brought to you by Holly Farms, America's #1 brand of fresh chicken. Duke and Wake Forest and the Blue Devils have it, trailing 17-14. Bob Rathman and Dan Bonner with you from the Greensboro Coliseum. And this is Davis for Duke. Now to Crawford Palmer. Duke's also made a change, Dan. John Smith is in the game. Now a foul against the Blue Devils.
Foul is against John Smith, trying to set a back pick. Gets called for an illegal screen. Bob, very interesting that Crawford Palmer and Brian Davis have come off the bench this early in the ball game for the Duke Blue Devils and have played as extensively thus far as they have.
John Smith getting his first minutes here, and Ala Abdul Nabi still resting on the Duke bench.
Kubek in the game for the Blue Devils as well. Mike Krzyzewski using a lot of people early.
And a loose ball picked out of there by Smith.
That's a tough pass. One of those bullet bounce passes at your toes is a hard one to pick up.
Davis. Tipped and dropped in. Boy, that was a fortuitous bounce for Ryan Davis. 17-16. Wait. McQueen bottled up. Outside Carlisle. And Davis controlling the rebound.
Duke is doing such a nice job shutting off penetration. I think that somebody like David Carlisle or Cal Boyd is going to have to hit some three-pointers to open that defense up. Palmer continues to be aggressive inside for Duke. He's going to go sit down now.
Sam Ivey back with the Deacs for Carlisle. And Duke now with Ferry, Henderson, Smith, Kubek, and Snyder. Here's Quinn to the basket. Saw some daylight and took advantage.
McQueen really overplaying Snyder to his right. Quinn going to his left very effectively.
18-17. Blue Devils back in the lead. Coming up on the 10-minute mark of the first half.
Ivey looking for the ball inside.
McQueen banking. Medlin following.
Chris King kept it alive, Bob. Tapped it against the board. Wake Forest really doing a nice job on the offensive boards. Duke, which got crushed on the boards against North Carolina the other night, having problems again early in this game.
Wake Forest with 6 offensive rebounds. Out of bounds is Snyder. Another Duke turnover. That is number 9. Robert Brookie returns for the Duke lineup. Snyder is out of the game.
There's your turnover stat. Duke usually forces more than it has.
Simon out to Ivey. Inside King, a turnaround, in and out. John Smith gets about 4 rebounds a game, pulling that one down. This Greensboro Coliseum has been a home away from home for Duke. They've won 12 consecutive games in this building in regular season and tournament play. Here's Henderson taking a seat, and the ball picked out of there by Ivey.
10 turnovers, Bob.
Well, that's a frightening pace that Duke is on in the miscue department. McQueen scored, and a foul on Perry.
Now the foul's going to be against McQueen, Bob.
He will get the basket.
He's going to get the basket because it's ruled that the contact occurred after he let the ball go. This is a nice job by Ferry to step in, get position. It's difficult against a team that plays defense as well as the Duke Blue Devils to leave your feet and travel forward any sort of a distance at all without someone stepping in front.
Cal Boyd, the only senior on the Deacon team, is yet to play today. This is Steve Ray in the ball game now for the Deacons guard. And a foul. And this one on Chris King.
We mentioned before when Robert Seiler gave up the baseline to Henderson, that time Bricky on the dribble was able to turn the corner against Chris King. Another foul against Wake Forest. That one will be on Medlin.
First on Phil, and 17 fouls now against Wake Forest, and Robert Bricky will be at the line. He has really struggled, Dan, at the line this year. 59.7%. 68% last year.
A couple of people for the Blue Devils have really struggled at the line. Quinn Snyder is another one. Snyder shot over 78% from the line last year, and this year he's only at about 57.
Rookie goes 1 for 2. Chris King rebounds. 21-19 Wake Forest. 8:30 left to play in the first half.
Duke does not really seem to be extending the defense very far today, Bob, but they're playing back in around the lane area, doing a nice job cutting off penetration.
King, tough pass to handle because Smith was right in front of him.
That's good defense. Wake is having no problem moving the ball around the perimeter, but when they try to get it inside, Duke is everywhere.
Greg Kupak. Ferry. Short. Tipped out to Bricky.
Medlin's laying all over Danny Ferry, and he's going to get called for the foul.
The second on the Greenville, North Carolina freshman.
Now Medlin's going to go right behind him. Watch him wrap that arm around right in front right there. You cannot do that. The referee that made the call was facing that play. All he can see is Medlin's arm wrapped around Ferry's stomach. That's got to be a foul call. Medlin's not happy about it, but it's a good call.
I thought Bill was trying to give Danny the Heimlich maneuver.
He's trying to just, you know, fix his back a little bit. Chiropractor move.
Ferry to shoot 1 and 1. That's his third point of the game.
In the first ball game between these two teams, Bob, we had Phil Medlin get in foul trouble right away. Then Ralph Kitley came in and he picked up some fouls. That brought on Tom Wise, and that's the situation we have now. Wise is in the game because both Kitley and Medlin have 2 fouls in the first half.
7:51 left in the half. Tie game at 21. We'll return to Greensboro after this from Budweiser. 7:51 remaining in the first half, tied at 21. A reminder that the announcers for this game approved and selected by Raycom Sports, Jefferson Pilot Teleproductions. Any rebroadcast, retransmission, unauthorized duplication, or reception of this broadcast without the express written permission of Raycom Sports, Jefferson Pilot Teleproductions is prohibited. Wise feeding Ivy for the reverse jam. Bob Stack's club taking a 2-point advantage at 23-21 on a vociferous dunk by Ivy. Snyder. Smith lost it. Snyder's got it back.
Wake doing a nice job on the defensive end of the court.
Boy, Ferry and Wise go at it. Ferry with a tip, no. Tipped out by Ferry to the corner and retrieved there by McQueen. You just get the feeling Danny is very tentative. Here's a backdoor alley-oop to Seiler.
That was not tentative.
No, sir.
You're right, Bob. Having seen Danny Ferry play as many times as we have, he just doesn't look as smooth as he normally does. And he appears to be a little bit frustrated by Tom Wise.
Well, they're banging away inside. Here's Ferry. No whistle. And Danny still on the deck there, just outside the lane.
And he's asking, what he's saying now is that he thinks he got fouled. An awful lot of contact on the inside. This is the previous time down the court. There he gets the ball. He sort of pushed Sam Ivy out of the way, just not able to get the tip to go. Not a lot of contact on that sequence right there. Ferry battling very hard inside, hasn't been able to be real successful so far.
And suffering, Dan, one of his coldest shooting afternoons that we can remember. He is 1 for 8 from the floor here in the first half.
And you have to wonder how much his back has to do with that.
Henderson for 3. Abdelnaby in the game, and a foul against the Deeks.
It's going to be against McQueen. Nobody boxes out Abdelnaby. He's able to get to the board very effectively. McQueen, I'm sure, not very pleased to find himself down under the basket with Abdelnaby. Did about the only thing available to him, and that is take a swipe at the ball.
Just a slight size mismatch. Abdelnaby will be going to the line. Well, Duke needs to have this big fella contribute. He had just 3 points at Maryland last Saturday and only 4 against the Tar Heels Wednesday.
Bob, one of the things with the Duke Blue Devils, everyone talks about their great depth inside, but if Abdelnaby is not going to play well and John Smith is not going to play well, you have to wonder where it.
Carlisle keeps it alive, and McQueen. Wake Forest trying to break through against the Duke Blue Devils. There's a travel. Seiler with an extra step on takeoff. 25-22, Wake leading. 6:22 left in the first half.
And you saw that graphic there just a few seconds ago that Derek McQueen now has 2 personal fouls. He is an extremely important cog in that Wake Forest machine, so he's going to have to be careful. There's Mike Krzyzewski doing some house cleaning, and you wonder if maybe he didn't go out there to help with the court and maybe say a couple of things.
Yeah, at least he had the attention to John Moreau there for a few brief fleeting seconds to make a point.
Well, you can see Coach K, he's not big time at all. He's willing to go out and clean up the court.
Leitner. Now Henderson. Inside Allen. Yes, he controls it. Now a travel. 3 seconds.
Violation.
3
That's
seconds.
a pretty good call. Allen sort of camped in there.
6:05 to play in the half. 25-22. Wake Forest on top. The Deeks have lost 9 straight to Duke. They've lost 5 straight to Duke on this Greensboro Coliseum floor. Danny Ferry out for the moment for the Blue Devils, but at the scorer's table, getting set to come back in.
Ivy and Leitner banged the knees in there. Leitner limping for a minute, but he's ready to go now. He's got a tough assignment trying to guard Sam Ivy.
And there it is, but Sam left it short.
I think he left it short because Leitner got a finger on that ball.
25-22. Wake Forest leading, 5:25 to play, first half. Brickey with a travel. Danny Ferry coming right back into the Duke lineup. Abdelnaby will be going out.
Again, we point out with Danny Ferry, 1 for 8 shooting so far in this game.
And you wonder, Dan, at least I do, what kind of an effect that has on the rest of the team, because he is the focal point. He's the hub of that wheel. And when your leader is not playing well, what effect does that have on everybody else?
Well, it doesn't have a positive effect, that's for sure, Bob. But some other people out there with some experience, a Snyder or Brickey's, people like that, really have to pick up the slack and get the team going. Real good defense there. Notice how they're cutting down on that penetration. You can get a good view of it right there. Every time somebody penetrates, they get another person stepping in. That time Ferry's going to get called for the foul. But overall, a pretty nice job by the Duke Blue Devils, and from that angle that we had, you could see it pretty well. Snyder cutting off the penetration. Now Ferry reaches right there. Danny's really got to take another step over to cut off that penetration.
The foul will be charged to Quinn Snyder.
Number 4, Derek McQueen.
And Derek McQueen will be going to the foul line. What a terrific job he's done for the Deeks in this freshman season. And there are those, Dan, who felt that Wake Forest might have been able to pull off the tremendous upset at Duke had McQueen been able to play the last 10 minutes of that game before going out with the leg cramps.
It's one of the great things about basketball, about any athletic event really, those what-ifs. He made that first free throw.
Well, that's a game you can play all the time. McQueen hits them both.
One thing we know about that first game is that Danny Ferry had a great game. I don't know, even with McQueen in the ball game, that Ferry's going to allow Duke to lose that one.
Indeed. And Brickey. Oh, Oh, my goodness. He just about put Carlisle through the basket with the ball.
Carlisle outplaying pretty good defense on the wing. Now Carlisle was denying Bricky the ball. The entry pass there to Ferry in the post. Bricky takes off. Good pass by Ferry. Carlisle behind. Maybe should think about not even going up with that one. He's not going to block that shot by Bricky.
Second foul on Carlisle. Bricky now with a team-high 29 dunks. Well, he really makes the highlight reel on some of those sky moves.
He really looks for the opportunity to do that.
6 points for Bricky.
But that's just good, fundamentally sound offensive basketball. The wing pass is denied, so you enter the ball to the post, and then with a passer like Ferry, you have the advantage there with the wing guy cutting back door.
Chris King. Tip Carlisle, no. It belongs to Duke.
Break for the Duke Blue Devils. Bricky did not block out Carlisle. He had a real good shot at that tip, just didn't get it to go down.
4:20 left to play first half. Screen by Bricky. Henderson inside now to Danny Ferry. Henderson. And King battling. He throws it long to Robert Seiler. And that's going to be a block on Snyder.
Seiler is so smooth with the basketball that Quinn Snyder was there, was trying to get good position. But Seiler just slid around him. This pass down the court by Chris King. Snyder never really gets set. He established the position, and Bricky just, or rather Seiler just sort of glides by. And you notice Snyder, he keeps moving and moving. That's a good call.
2 free throws for Robert Seiler. He hit 15 in a row at the line at one point earlier this season. A 74%er at the foul line.
It's nice to see him come back so well from that very serious injury he suffered last season.
See, the left knee is still bandaged pretty heavily. But you're right, Dan, and it hasn't affected his athletic prowess. Here's Snyder and Ferry, and a pass tip by King. Blue Devils with possession. 3:49 left in the first half. Bob Stack trying to knock off Duke for the first time in his career. It's 29-25. Wake Forest, and we'll be back. The 189th renewal of the Duke-Wake Forest series. When these two teams first met in 1906, it was the first game in college basketball played in the old Tar Heel state of North Carolina. Wake won it 15-5. Right now, the Deacs trying to knock off Duke one more time, leading it by 4, and 3:44 left to play in the opening half.
Pretty good defense on the interior.
Very nice entry pass. Just that soft touch by Snyder.
Wise did a nice job getting around in front, but the Blue Devils had moved everybody else out, so there was no help for Tom Wise.
Wake Forest leading by 2.
Palmer back in the ball game again. This is as much action as he's seen.
Wake Forest has it.
Duke gradually now extending that defensive pressure just a little bit. .12 seconds left on the shot clock.
Seiler. Ivy out of bounds. Wake ball, but the shot clock, as you pointed out, Dan, is at 10.
Pretty good idea here by Robert Seiler. Figures Ferry steps in, so Ivy's got it going. Ball just slides out of Danny's hands.
Seiler. And Bricky high to get the rebound. Ferry waits, and now Duke will set it up. You mentioned Palmer's minutes. The most he's had in a game this year, 12, in that blowout of William and Mary a few weeks ago. Ferry putting it in.
Last 2 times down the court, the Blue Devils going inside to Danny Ferry, sort of clearing out the area for him down there.
McQueen. And he hits a three-pointer. He's done a terrific job this year, Dan, of the three-point shot. He's only taken 14 of them, but he's hit 9.
He certainly has the capability out there to be a scorer, and if you're playing off of him like Snyder did, you can get burned.
Oh, how'd you like that pass?
Last 3 times down the court, the Duke Blue Devils have gotten the ball into the hands of Danny Ferry close to the basket, and good things have happened each time.
32-31 Wake. Under 2 to play first half.
That's just a bad foul by Crawford Palmer. Tom Wise is not known for his explosive first step to the basket there. You just don't want to foul. You just don't want to foul Tom Wise right there. Again, look at last Duke offensive series. Once again, get the ball to Ferry, passes the ball to Henderson. Now Tom Wise has to wonder what he needs to do. The time before he plays in front, Ferry gets a layup. The time he plays behind, Ferry's able to catch the ball and make the good pass.
Tom Wise, the sophomore out of Winchester, Virginia.
When you have that happen to you too many times, you run past the bench and tell the coach you need a blow.
Wise first point of the game. 33-31. Bob Stack orchestrating this Wake Forest effort. The Deeks took the lead with about 9 minutes to go in the first half, but they have not relinquished it here. Duke is getting more efficient at the offensive end of the floor. 2-point lead for Wake Forest, 1:40 to play. And now we've got a foul called inside, and it's going to be
Crawford
on Palmer.
Again.
That'll be his third, and that will send Chris King to the line.
Duke really does a good job with their big guys inside setting screens. That time Palmer got caught.
Christian Leitner will take Palmer's spot. And now it is going to be Chris King stepping up to the foul line.
Number 44, Chris King.
King with 5 points today. He also has 3 rebounds. Ivy puts it in. So the Deeks are able to get points out of it after all.
That ball sort of hit the bottom of the rim and came straight down. Ferry never had a chance at the ball.
35-31.
Wise and Ferry really going after one another.
Leitner tipped by Ferry. Leitner is down under the basket at the other end, clutching his knee. Here is Snyder coming up with it. Now Danny Ferry. Leitner is just now getting to his feet. You see him in the lower part of your screen.
If he could have gotten up and gotten in position, he'd have had a layup, but he really looked like he banged his knee.
Now time called. Christian Leitner after that attempt, and you'll see it here.
Leitner's going to get the ball up on the board. Ivy's lucky he didn't get called for a foul, but look at Leitner's face. Real concentration there on the ball. Doesn't really start to catch himself. He falls down, goes out of your picture, but fell right on his knee. John Smith back in the ball game. Leitner sits down. And I think this is interesting. Crawford Palmer and Christian Leitner playing much more in this ball game than John Smith and Ala Abdelnaby. Snyder just loses the handle as he penetrates by.
Coughed it right up.
And Snyder has done a nice job finding the openings. He simply hasn't been able to convert. That's now 14 turnovers against the Duke Blue Devils.
Just a whopping total for Duke. And here's Cal Boyd seeing his first action. 60 seconds left in the first half. Wake Forest 35 and Duke 31. A capacity crowd at the Greensboro Coliseum.
Cal Boyd in the ball game because it looks like the Blue Devils are going to try to hang on to the ball for as much of that 45 as they can. About a 15-second differential between the shot clock and the game clock. That is the game clock that you see right there. The shot clock says 24. Duke, of course, is going to have plenty of time once they get the basketball back.
Boyd blocked from behind by Henderson.
Nice defense.
Duke with a 3-on-3. Bricky knocked away. Wake Forest ball. Ivy, I think, was the man who got the hand on it to knock it away. Now the Deeks have it with 19 seconds left in the half.
You know, Bob, sometimes, and I think that was one of the times, Robert Bricky Looks like he's spending so much time loading up for one of those dunks that he doesn't really concentrate on holding on to the basketball.
Now the shot clock is off, and Wake will take the final shot of the half. Seiler hits it. 2-1 Henderson after the buzzer. And the Wake Forest Demon Deacons take the lead to the locker room. Well, the Deacs showed patience here, Dan. They got a pretty good shot at it.
They sure did. Seiler is going to come off the screen. Excellent screen by Tom Wise. Gets Seiler free for just a moment against Greg Kubek. Robert Seiler is able to fill it up. Bob Stack, you know he's happy with the first half his team's played.
The Deacons trying to break a 9-game losing streak to Duke. They have their biggest lead of the game, 37-31. We'll be back with our halftime activities in a moment.
The first half of this ACC game on the Raycom Sports and Entertainment and JP Sports Network has been brought to you by Pontiac, Holly Farms, Food Lion, and by Days Inn.
Lineup that started the game, and that includes David Carlisle, who will put it in play here for us.
Sam Ivey ends the first half with only one personal foul. That's on very much the plus side for Bob Stack's Deacons.
And Phil Medlin with 2. He's also been saddled with foul difficulty during the course of the season. Okay, the Deacs with it, 37-31. Wake on top, 19:45 just underway, second half here at the Greensboro Coliseum. King trying to force that one in there, and Ferry kicked it away.
Really telegraphed that pass. He wound up. Danny Ferry's able to get his leg over there and get on it. Sam Ivey had real good position inside against Robert Brickey. Duke, of course, stays in the man-to-man defense. They've been in that defensive set the entire ball game. Henderson and Carlisle going at one another.
Ivey's got Ferry on his hip. In and out, tipped by Medlin.
John Smith did not block out Medlin. Smith and Medlin were both at the free throw line. Smith just turned and went to the basket. Medlin, of course, followed him, got the tip. You got to block that guy out.
Henderson inside to Ferry with the right hand. Smooth as silk. 10 points for Danny.
Ferry at one point in this ball game was 1 for 8, Bob. He's made his last 3 baskets in a row.
39-33, Deacs. Ivey.
Wake Forest, the last couple of times offensively, the first couple possessions of this half have put everybody on the perimeter except Sam Ivey, really trying to create some room for Sam to operate against Ferry inside.
This is John Smith, and a rejection by Medlin. Ivey up to McQueen. Medlin inside. The Demon Deacons have a 10-point lead. Offensive foul, Danny Ferry pushed off.
Medlin involved prominently in the last couple of plays for the Demon Deacons. Here John Smith taking the ball to the basket, but Medlin comes over very well for the help, and then Medlin able to run the floor very effectively, blocks the shot on one end, takes it to the basket on the other. The Deacons are on a roll right now.
It's all going Wake Forest's way, leading Duke by 10. Now this from Budweiser. Bonner back in Greensboro. Dan, I found it very interesting during that timeout. Mike Krzyzewski didn't have a whole lot to say to his ball club in terms of the length of the conversation. They were out on the floor for about a minute before we came back to you, and then Ferry and Snyder, the 2 seniors, got them together and said, let's go over this one more time.
I think they really have to pick up their intensity on the defensive end of the court, Bob. They haven't really done a good job pressuring the ball all day long, and I think they really need to pressure the ball, force some turnovers, and create some easy hoops for themselves.
Carlisle. Adam McQueen. 17:30 to play in the game. Deacons by 10.
5 on the shot clock.
McQueen letting the frequent flyers go by, and he gets a foul.
It's really frustrating for a coach to have your team play that effectively on the defensive end of the court. And then with just a couple of seconds left on the clock, McQueen showing you his quickness. That's a great pump fake. Draws the foul from Quinn Snyder.
That's the third on the Mercer Island Washington senior.
And you know Bob Stack has to be pleased with the kind of poise that Derek McQueen is showing today and has in fact shown all year.
He's also picked up 4 rebounds and dished out 4 assists. Hitting the free throw for his 8th point of the game.
Now when we talk about putting pressure on the basketball, that means you got to harass this guy at the free throw line, Derek McQueen, and he has demonstrated that he's got an advantage in quickness against somebody like Quinn Snyder, so it's going to be hard to pressure the basketball.
The Deacons lead Duke by a dozen. 45-33. Throw it away. It has been since 1984 that Wake Forest defeated Duke here, since 1985 when Wake won in overtime at Cameron Indoor Stadium. The last time they tasted victory against Duke. That covers the last 9 meetings.
But the Blue Devils really look tight today, Bob. They're just not playing very well. There isn't any sort of seemingly synchronization out there, and they're digging themselves an awful big hole here.
Carlisle had nowhere to go, and fortunately for Wake Forest, they're going to get the ball back. But you're right, Dan. Mike Krzyzewski's club, they just don't have that look today that all the gears are meshing.
Of course, you have to give some of the credit for that particular look to Wake Forest.
Carlisle missing a 3. Brookie controlling the rebound.
Duke's also not getting very many transition baskets, Bob. Each time down the court, they're having to play against the set Wake Forest defense, which has been pretty good today.
Ferry gets open and puts it in. 12 for Danny. 45-35. Wake. As we pointed out earlier, Dan, the Duke defense known for getting the turnovers, but they have to get some easy baskets out of those turnovers.
That's right. Turnovers in and of themselves really don't mean very much.
King missing, and Robert Brookie bringing it up.
Notice, however, when they do get a defensive rebound, there's no effort on the part of the Duke Blue Devils to play the transition game. They're walking the ball up the court.
Ferry and a foul.
That foul, I think, is going to be against Medlin. It is. That's number 3 on Phil Medlin. And one of the reasons why you walk it up the court is you got a guy like Danny Ferry you can go to inside. Medlin called for the push.
That's the 3rd on Phil.
And you have to wonder how Danny Ferry's back figures into the style that Duke has elected to play today. It's possible that he's simply not capable of getting up and down the court in the kind of transition game that we're used to seeing the Duke Blue Devils play.
Danny scores his 13th. Ralph Kidley now into the ball game, and Medlin out. Seiler also back in for David Carlisle. Ferry with 14. 45-37.
Snyder out of the ball game. Henderson now draws the straw, matched up against McQueen.
And Derek is open. Bingo! 3-pointer, his 2nd of the game.
You've just got to try if you're the Duke Blue Devils when McQueen doesn't have the ball, when he gives it up, to deny him getting the ball back.
And a nice defensive job by Kidley. Up the floor, here's Chris King. Kidley on the back of his own man, McQueen, and he puts it in.
McQueen was very wise to get out of Ralph's way.
50-37, Wake's biggest lead today.
And Wake very nearly right there came up with another turnover. Phil Henderson trying to make a long distance pass. John Smith not doing a real good job going after the basketball.
Crawford Palmer in for Coach Krzyzewski, and Ferry now to play it in. John Smith has gone out. Tipped down.
As you mentioned, Palmer and Davis back in the ball game for Duke. Mike Krzyzewski still struggling, trying to find the right combination.
Wake's taking advantage on the second chance points. Palmer. Davis. Nothing going right for Duke. McQueen to the cutting King. Ivy. Wake Forest ball. Boy, really scrapping in there was Ralph Kitley.
Ralph Kitley really scrambling inside. McQueen with the penetration. Good help by Palmer. King catches the ball, but he's really got nowhere to go. Ivy, he's just normally going to make that one, but he misses the shot. Palmer and Kitley. Ball goes out of bounds.
Ivy fouled before the shot by Palmer, and that will be his fourth. And immediately, Christian Leitner off the Duke bench to come into the game.
Bob, we've talked about Palmer and the fact that he hasn't really played in long stints this year. It's 4 fouls. He's actually fouled out of 1 ball game this year. The last out of bounds play right here. You can see Palmer and Kitley both going after the ball. The ball's out of bounds there. That's a good call by Jim Wright.
Kitley, yes! Wake Forest right now can do no wrong offensively, defensively, and they built a 15-point lead against Duke.
And you get the idea that Mike Krzyzewski's sitting over there saying, you guys work your way out of this. He's not going to bail his team out with a timeout. And inside is a pretty good place to go. That's foul number 3 on Kitley.
I think, Dan, they're going to call it on McQueen. Yeah, his third. 14:07 is left in the game.
Kitley was relieved to find that the foul was on McQueen. He was headed over the table. He was asking if he had that was his third. But it's McQueen's third, as you point out.
Christian Leitner. First opportunity at the line today. 68.6 shooter.
Ralph Kitley playing with a lot of emotion. Usually Big Ralph isn't the kind of guy that puts it on the court and goes to the basket. That time sort of bulling his way.
Leitner goes 0 for 2. Here come the Deeks. Chris King. Now Quinn Snyder ahead to Danny Ferry.
Ferry gives that fake and that lean. He's always looking.
Danny puts it in. He's got 16. Bad back or no, he's going to be one of the key men to bring Duke back in this game.
And the Blue Devils had best get started on their comeback. 13.5 minutes left in the ball game.
It has been Wake Forest of late that has been trying to make a second half run in ACC games. Kitley. Yes!
Ralph Kitley really feeling it. He sees Christian Leitner guarding him. That's twice in a row now that he's put the ball on the floor and gone to the basket. That may be a career high for Ralph in terms of dribbling to the board.
A personal against
Chris
Diggs,
King.
and it is against King. It'll be his first foul today.
Matched up against Robert Brickey out on the perimeter. Difficult matchup. Now Ralph Kitley, watch this. Ralph gives the fake. Leitner goes for the fake. Kitley drives to the basket. That line drive shot.
Well, that glass takes a beating.
Nobody ever said that the job Ralph Kitley did looked pretty, but nobody's ever been able to accuse Ralph Kitley of not trying as hard as he can.
He did a good job last year in ACC games. Ferry's going to be way short with this one. And Antonio Johnson rebound. Near steal, and Snyder comes up a long bounce that Henderson just impossible to handle.
Mike Krzyzewski Sphinx-like over there on the bench. Not any emotion that you can tell. Just the movement of the eyes. That's the kind of a play that Duke needs to get. The turnover that they can convert into a layup. The pass just not there by Quinn Snyder.
54-39. Wake leading. 12:40 to play in the game. Wake is on a 17-8 run this half. Looking for more. Carlisle for three. Very clearing.
It's one of those things that may have buried Duke if Carlisle hits that one.
7 rebounds for Danny. Right hand, yes. Ferry with 18. Oh, what a play. 54-41. Wake Forest.
That means he scored all the Duke points in the second half.
Yes, all 10. Kitley. Snyder in there to get it. Now Duke bringing it up. Ferry working on McQueen. A big size mismatch, but short. And Ferry tips it out to Snyder.
Now Ferry's got to get out of that 3-second lane. He does. He crawls out.
And puts it home. Ferry with 20. All 12 Duke points in the second half, and the Wake lead is 11.
Ferry carried the Blue Devils in the second half of their first matchup against Wake Forest, and he's trying to do it again, and he just went over and had something to say to Ralph Kitley. I suppose it was along the lines of, in your face, Ralph.
Here's McQueen working on Snyder. He's trying to spread the floor a bit. Here's Seiler. And Henderson rebounded. 11 minutes and just under that to go in the game. Here's Ferry. Danny puts it in. As Johnny Bench, the new Baseball Hall of Famer, said about a catcher and his body, you got to ride that nag till it drops. And Duke may be sensing the same thing with Ferry. He has completely taken over the Duke offense.
Well, if Duke doesn't sense it, Bob Stack certainly does.
Johnson, three-pointer.
That is a big basket. Duke is climbing back in the game. Antonio Johnson off the bench hits the three.
Henderson fouled by Robert Seiler of Wake Forest.
Phil Medlin's going to get up and come back in the ballgame. Ralph Kitley looks worn out. He's working real hard in there.
A timeout on the floor in Greensboro. It's Wake Forest 57, Duke 45, 10:20 remaining at the Greensboro Coliseum. For Danny Ferry, 22 points, 14 in the second half, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. Amazing.
Has done a great job in the second half recognizing the opportunities that have presented themselves.
Danny has scored 20 or better 7 times coming into this game. Duke had won all 7. The Blue Devils with Christian Leitner missing on the jam and a foul on Medlin. And that will be his 4th.
Bob, Wake Forest comes out in sort of a box-and-one defense. You see Seiler matched up there against Danny Ferry. Everybody else playing zone. Leitner going hard to the basket is going to draw the foul. If you're going to play a trick defense like that, you got to be real careful that you keep it low enough to the baseline that you don't let one of those big guys get behind you. Medlin let Leitner get behind, and he's got to sit down. Now Kitley is exhausted, so he can't come in the ball game for a little while. So Tom Wise is going to come on in.
Make sure to stay tuned for Holly Farms Player of the Game Awards, brought to you by Holly Farms, America's #1 brand of fresh chicken. Leitner with his 5th point. He's now 1 for 3 at the line today, and puts this one in. The Wake Forest lead is 10. 10 minutes, 8 seconds left. Tipped. Henderson. Snyder's got it. Duke can get the deficit into single numbers. Henderson. Nice fake. Drew the foul. Score it.
Create an opportunity with defense, Bob. McQueen making a bad pass. It's usually pretty hard to throw the ball all the way across the floor against Duke. There, Henderson. Nice pass inside by Snyder. Henderson recognizing the opportunity, now has a chance for the three-point play that could bring Duke back to within 7. And very slowly, the Blue Devils climbing back in.
Indeed. Phil Henderson, the 6th best foul shooter in the league at 80%. That leads Duke. and matches his season average with that free throw.
And that field goal that he just scored was the first one scored in the second half by anybody for Duke except Ferry.
57-50. Wise nearly traveled. Here's McQueen sneaking in. Nowhere to go. A travel.
McQueen just exploded to the baseline, but once he got in there, no place to go. Nice job by the Duke Blue Devils to sort of cage him in down there, not really allow him to create any opportunity.
Boy, it's rare that you're going to get an easy basket against that Duke defense. They just don't make very many mistakes inside defensively. Here's Ferry. Outside Snyder. He'll take, and that's a foul on McQueen, and that's going to be his fourth.
And that's a bad foul, not only because it's the fourth foul, but you have to know your opposition. You've got to know that Quinn Snyder is shooting less than 30% from three-point range, and in that particular situation, you got to let him have the shot. It's just never a good play to foul that three-pointer.
Steve Ray enters for Wake Forest, and McQueen out. And Bob Stack right at his knee. Snyder 57% at the line, nothing but net this time.
Very important stretch of the ball game coming up here for both Mike Krzyzewski and his counterpart Bob Stack. For Duke, an opportunity to get even closer with McQueen out of the game. For Wake, just have to see how Steve Ray does. And Wake would be wise to take a page out of the Blue Devil book and go inside to their thoroughbred. Sam Ivey should have the ball in his hands as much as possible for Wake Forest.
Seiler had it, and now it's going to go over to Henderson. Duke, Kubek, fouled by Carlisle.
We talked about the defense and the easy opportunities, Bob. Kubek knocked the ball away with a good tip from behind. You can see Seiler there calling a timeout for Wake Forest. Duke has turned the tide. They're back into this ball game.
Now Mike Krzyzewski's Blue Devils have closed to within 6, and Greg Kubek will be on the line when we come back after these messages from Natural Light.
Bob on a 6-0 run here, everything from the free throw line, but they've been doing it with defense. You see Henderson reaching around behind Seiler, able to make the steal, and then Kubek doing a nice job running the court. Misses that free throw, he'll have a second one.
He played a great game against Wake Forest at Durham back in December. In fact, his best game of the year, 12 points and 4 rebounds. But goes 0 for 2 at the line.
Boy, and those are some big opportunities that he misses at the free throw line.
Cowboy. Dangerous pass. Snyder fouls. Number 4 on the Duke point man.
Both the point guards now with 4 personal fouls, Bob. Snyder just a step late right there. So both the teams going to go down the stretch here, the last 8:35 of this ball game, without their point guards. Snyder, as he goes to the bench, he's got 4. His counterpart, Derek McQueen, also with 4. Ralph Kitley back in the ball game.
Now Boyd getting it over to Ivy. Wake hasn't had a field goal in 3 minutes. Last coming out at the 11:20 mark. We're down to 8:20 to play in the game. Sam Ivey. Ferry got a piece of that one, and Leitner the rebound.
Well, we've said that Wake would be wise to go to Sam Ivey. They've had a difficult time because of the defensive work that Danny Ferry's been doing in there.
Over Kitley. Yes. Danny Ferry up to 24 points now.
And he's just wearing Ralph Kitley out.
Now Ivy puts it in.
Good idea by Brian Davis to try to drop down inside and help Danny Ferry against Sam Ivey. Ferry doing a pretty good job forcing Ivy to catch the ball out high. Then Ferry gets good position, but Davis draws the foul. You can see the freshman with his hands over his eyes there. That's a big call. Ivy now has the opportunity for the three-point play.
Sam with 12 points today. This is the first time he's been to the line in 3 games. Counting today, Leitner missing, getting the rebound after the Ivy miss. 59-53. Tipped out. Duke ball.
Ferry got away with one right there. He gave Ralph Kitley a pretty good elbow in the chops as he was working for position. Kitley able to get around and knock the ball out of bounds.
Kubek, Henderson, Bill inside, puts it in.
That is a very tough matchup for Steve Ray. He doesn't have the quickness Henderson does, nor the size. Henderson taking advantage.
Except for the Duke partisans that are here. This crowd is sitting on its hands right now. Duke has cut it back to a 4-point Wake lead at 59-55. It's the closest the Duke has been in this half. They were 6 down at the break. Duke hasn't had the lead since midway through the first half. Ivy. Rebound, Kubek.
That's good defense by Danny Ferry. Not good shot selection by Sam Ivy.
Henderson to the bucket. And Duke is within 2. 15 points for Phil Henderson. 6:50 to play.
And Wake Forest simply is not getting it done on the offensive end. They're not getting themselves very good opportunities.
Carlisle. Offensive foul. And David better be careful. He got right in the face of Jim Rife.
And Derek McQueen's going to get up off the bench and come back in the ball game. Carlisle penetrating to the baseline. No question about this call. Leitner with perfect position. Carlisle decided out on the wing that he was going all the way to the hoop. You can see David arguing the call. But of course to no avail. And once again you get a demonstration of how important Derek McQueen is to the Demon Deacons.
Ferry. Too long. Into the hands of Chris King and out of McQueen. The Deacons push it ahead. Carlisle. Tip, no. Tipped out. McQueen can't get it. It belongs to Wake Forest.
I don't know that that was good shot selection by David Carlisle. Pretty tough shot off the end of the fast break.
Still fuming perhaps over the charge call. Wanted to get it back, and that comes out of the game.
That's very possibly so, Bob, but a fellow with his experience in a game like this can't afford to do that. He's got to set an example for the younger guys.
59-57 Wake Forest. You see the time remaining here. Duke coming off that 20-point loss to Carolina in Durham on Wednesday. The Deacs trying to break a 3-game ACC losing streak and a 9-game skid against Duke.
Now, Ivy's got to go to the basket, Bob. Ivy gave the ball to McQueen. McQueen was matched up against Ferry, and Ivy was standing way outside. It was a perfect opportunity to go to the basket, and he didn't take it.
Shot clock at 15. Now McQueen penetrating, and he puts it in.
What a shot. There's all kinds of hands in there. Real good strength to hang on to the ball. He's really got to watch himself so that he doesn't pick up that 5th foul.
Still a long way to go. Kubek. And it drops for him. Kubek's first bucket of the game. Duke again trailing by 2.
Real confident move to take the shot in that situation, Bob.
McQueen finds Kitley, now gets it back, and
McQueen has been penetrating the defense the last couple times, but as he does, his teammates watch him. They've got to go and get to the basket, or at least get into a position where they can get a pretty good jump shot.
Shot clock again at 15 seconds. It's left up to Derek McQueen.
And all the Duke Blue Devils around the basketball, everybody from Wake standing outside watching. Sam Ivy is not being allowed to handle the ball down inside. Excellent defensive job by Duke.
Ferry. Kitley got a hand up. Leitner at the travel. Didn't get it on the floor quick enough. as he was falling backwards.
Had to reach way behind his head for that rebound. Just not able to control it.
John Smith re-enters for Duke, as does Quinn Snyder. Quinn with the 4 fouls. Leitner going out of the game, and Henderson going out of the game.
Henderson may be a little tired. McQueen has gone right by him the last couple of times. Henderson has had a pretty good ball game, but he's going to have to take a breather right now.
61-59. Wake Forest on top. The Deacs have led by as many as 15 here in the second half.
Duke also doing a nice job against King inside. He hasn't been able to handle the ball in there either.
Seiler. 4-3. Couple of big three-pointers for the Deacs here. That one by Seiler. Previously, Antonio Johnson. The Wake lead is 5. Foul. Seiler.
No mystery about where Duke is going with the basketball, Bob. Kitley the last couple of times has done a good job bothering Danny Ferry's shot. But Ferry able to make a very effective pass that time.
Robert Brookie stepping up to the line. He's done a good job there today. 2 out of 3.
One of the problems for Ralph Kitley, if he's guarding Ferry at any distance away from the basket at all, he's really got to play off, because Ferry with a big advantage in quickness, and that time Ferry able to take advantage of that distance and make the good pass.
Missed the front end. Ivy the rebound.
And Duke has missed some pretty big free throws in this the second half.
That they have. Kubek, Leitner, now Brookie missing the front end. 64-59 Wake Forest. Duke closed within 2, but now Wake trying to open up a gap once again.
Bucket here would be real big for Wake Forest.
McQueen hits it. Timeout Duke. 3:13 left as Wake Forest looks to spring the upset. Dan Bonowitz talked about this matchup. Danny Ferry and Sam Ivey. This is the matchup point-wise, rebound-wise in the second half.
Ferry has done an excellent job in the second half, keeping Sam Ivey away from the ball in scoring position.
And Kitley fouling. That will be his 3rd.
If you're Wake Forest, you simply cannot let Danny Ferry catch the ball out on the wing and turn a couple of times while he's dribbling the ball in against Ralph Kitley. If Ferry's going to dribble the basketball, somebody's got to come over and double team him. After what he did to you in over in Durham, you got to decide, if you're the Deacons, you're going to make somebody else from Duke beat you.
The 25th point for Danny. He had 33 against the Deacs in that Durham game you mentioned, Dan. Bangs this one in. Duke within 5 at the 3-minute mark.
Snyder trying to put some pressure. Good screen by Ralph Kitley. You know you've been screened when Kitley.
Oh, yeah. Like running into a roadblock. 66-61. Deacs leading.
Look where Ivy's handling the basketball.
Shot clock at 20. Shot clock at 15. Tipped by Snyder. Controlled by McQueen.
Not a lot of movement for Wake Forest on offense.
No, it's only been McQueen. Now Ivy penetrating. That's stuffed by Leitner out of bounds. The shot clock.
I think the shot clock should reset.
Yes.
That was a shot attempt.
And if it is, it'll go to 5. They'll only pick up a second.
Well, but if you rule it that it's a shot attempt, the shot clock should reset to 45. They've ruled that it goes to 5 because it's just a ball out of bounds.
Right. Into Kitley. Ralph. Seiler had it and lost it. King had it. Gets it over to McQueen. 2:10 left.
Boy, that's a big play by Seiler.
Tipped away from behind, and a foul on Phil Henderson.
That ball went through Quinn Snyder's legs. He never saw it. But of course, he would not have been able to do anything with it even had he seen it. This is just a great play by Seiler. Henderson making a bad error, not blocking him out. King able to come up with the loose ball. That's now 6 team fouls against the Blue Devils. Wake will be shooting the 1-and-1 on the next foul.
2 minutes remaining. Wake Forest leading by 5.
This is a big possession for the Deacons.
Into McQueen.
Plenty of time on the shot clock. It reset with that personal foul.
Blocking foul. Snyder's out of the game.
That's a good call. Snyder trying to put pressure on the ball, just got himself a little too close. We noticed the fans across the way holding up chairs for Quinn Snyder. I don't know, but
what is the significance of that?
I guess he's going to go have a seat, Bob.
Snyder fouling out with 3 points, just 1 of 3. You know, it's interesting, Dan, that Quinn Snyder has not shot over 50% from the field since he did it against the Citadel on November the 26th.
Snyder really has, you get a look at Quinn right there. He's played well defensively. He's played well in terms of his assists and running the team, but you really, I don't think in this day and age can have a point guard who's just not going to score at all for you. Derek
McQueen points. That is a season high. He had 14 at State Wednesday. 67-61.
And what a game this young man is having.
I think when all is said and done, if Wake wins today, they can credit Derek McQueen. Since he came back after going to the bench with those 4 fouls, it's been 10-2 Wake Forest run. And the lead is back now to 7 points. Kubek had it blocked. Bricky and a foul inside.
I think the foul's going to be against Sam Ivey.
That'll be his 3rd. A minute 40 left, and Duke will get some free throws.
Ralph Kitley coming out of the ball game. Medlin going back in, and Ralph Kitley's another young man for Wake Forest who's had a big ball game today. He has come in, provided an awful lot of spark off the bench. And once more, we see the Blue Devils at the line where they have not been overly successful in the second half.
But Bricky puts this one in and keeps the heat on here with a minute 40 left. A 7-point day for Bricky and a 6-point Duke deficit. Ivey clears to Medlin. That's going to be a travel. His feet came off the floor. And that'll give it to Duke.
Ivey was trying to dribble the ball as he went down and was not really able to accomplish it. So this is going to be a break for the Blue Devils. Ivey with the block out against Layton. You see him try to dribble the ball. When he wasn't able to get the dribble going and he rolls over, he gains an advantage, and therefore that walk is a very good call.
Henderson. Kubek. Missed that one, did Ferry. But a foul on Wake Forest.
And another foul against Sam Ivey, I think.
That will be his 4th.
You see Sam Ivey trying to guard against Leitner inside. Now he's just going to push him. He's got Leitner locked underneath, but he continues to push. He gets the foul call right there.
4 fouls on Ivey. Medlin back in. Kitley going out.
A lot of ice being thrown on the court at the minute.
So now it is Christian Leitner. 2 for 4 at the line today. He scored 6. Duke is trailing 68-62 with a minute 29 to play.
Boy,
McQueen's got it.
They've really hurt themselves from the line, Bob.
That they have.
It's 5 rebounds now for Derek McQueen, and Ferry going to get the foul call, trying to steal the basketball. And when Ferry goes down, Bob, it's very interesting to watch how he gets up. As he rises to his feet, he lays out on the ground first and then seemingly tries to get up without having to stoop or bend his back at all. So you can tell it's bothering him. He's played a tough, gutty game today.
Bill Medlin.
And as hot as he was at the start of the second half, you've got to say that Wake Forest made some pretty good adjustments to cool him down.
Deacons have been good at the line, but Medlin misses this one, and Bricky rebounds. A minute 15 to play. And Duke is trailing. Ferry thinking about a three-pointer. Now moving in. Kubek outside. Now back inside. Misses. And a foul. It's on Wake.
Real fine effort by Kubek.
4 fouls on Robert Seiler. So Kubek will go to the line. He's 0 for 2 there today.
King comes out of the ball game for Wake Forest. There's Robert Seiler with the 4 personal fouls. David Carlisle comes back in. Wake Forest in effect with Seiler, Carlisle, and King, 3 guards.
You mentioned Dan Duke's free throw shooting. They have missed 8 free throws here in the second half. Kubek with his 3rd point today. 68-63. 60 seconds remaining.
Cal Boyd coming in the ball game now. Medlin comes out. So with McQueen, Carlisle, Seiler, and Boyd, Wake with 4 guards in the game, although it's pretty good luxury to have a 6'8" guard like Carlisle.
Duke trying to spring the trap, and a foul on Kubek.
Well, Cal Boyd is an excellent free throw shooter, almost 87%, but he has just come in the ball game, so maybe that's not a bad foul by Duke. Bob Stack now going to try to play the 2-platoon system, with Wake Forest scheduled to go back on defense. Medlin is going to come back in the game, and Carlisle is going to go out.
Cal Boyd outstanding at the line, Dan, as you mentioned. In the last 2 minutes of games the past 2 years, Boyd has gone 23 for 26.
And those big upsets last year against North Carolina and North Carolina State, he's the guy who made the free throws to seal those games.
Deeks by 5.
You see him trying to stretch out, though.
Missed that one. Kubek rebounding. Duke's trailing by 5, and quickly the Devils bring it up. Henderson. And a foul on McQueen. No, it's inside.
It's on Seiler. That'll be 5.
So Robert fouls out of the game with 47 seconds left.
With as poorly as Duke has shot free throws today, Bob, that may not be a bad foul, although, of course, you never want to foul in that situation if your opponent